The moment my world turned dark, I felt an overwhelming silence that seemed to press against my very soul. There was no pain anymore, only a profound awareness that I was no longer tethered to my physical body. My thoughts, which moments before had been filled with worry and fear, were suddenly clear and quiet. It was as if I had stepped out of time itself. What I experienced next was unlike anything I could have imagined. I was no longer part of the physical world but somewhere far beyond it, in a realm that felt more real than life itself. I first became aware of the light, a brilliance that defied description. It wasn't the harsh, blinding glare of the sun but a soft, radiant presence that seemed alive. It pulsed with a rhythm that resonated deep within me, drawing me closer with each passing moment. The light wasn't just visual, it was something I could feel, hear, and even understand. It carried with it a sense of peace so profound that every fear, regret, or doubt I had ever carried melted away in its presence. As I moved toward this light, I became aware of something extraordinary. I wasn't alone. There were presences surrounding me. Not physical beings but entities of light and energy that radiated love and understanding. I could sense their individuality, yet they were connected in ways that went beyond anything I had ever known. One presence in particular seemed to guide me, leading me through this experience with a purpose I couldn't yet comprehend. As I drew closer to the light, the world I had left behind seemed to fade, becoming less important with every passing moment. I could see my body below, surrounded by paramedics working frantically to revive me. I felt no attachment to it, no urgency to return. It was as if I was observing a scene from a distant life, one that no longer held me captive. The separation was not one of despair but of clarity, a recognition that what I was experiencing now was the true essence of existence. The light drew me deeper into its embrace, and as I entered it fully, I was enveloped in sensations that words could never capture. Colors beyond the spectrum of human sight danced around me, their hues shifting and flowing like a living painting. Music unlike anything I had ever heard filled the air, a harmony of voices and instruments that seemed to echo the very fabric of creation. These weren't simply sounds or sights, they were expressions of something far greater, a language of the universe itself. As I stood in this place of unimaginable beauty, I felt an overwhelming presence approach me. It wasn't a person in the way we understand, but an entity so vast and powerful that its very existence filled me with awe. This presence seemed to carry within it the wisdom of eternity, yet it radiated a kindness and love so profound that I felt completely at ease. It spoke to me, not in words but in thoughts and impressions that flowed directly into my mind. The presence revealed that I was here for a reason. It wasn't yet my time to stay, but I had been brought to this place to understand something vital, something that I was meant to share when I returned. This wasn't a dream or a hallucination. It was an experience that felt more vivid and real than anything I had ever known. My guide, as I began to think of this presence, showed me things that would change the way I understood life, death, and everything in between. The first revelation came in the form of a vision. I was shown the world as it was, not through human eyes but through the lens of eternity. I could see the threads that connected every life, every action, and every decision. These threads formed an intricate web of light, each one representing the choices and intentions of individuals. The web wasn't static, it shifted and evolved with every new choice made, every thought formed, and every prayer offered. It was a living tapestry, and its beauty was beyond anything I could have imagined. In this web of light, I could see my own thread. It shimmered faintly, intertwined with countless others, each connection representing a relationship, a moment of impact, or an act of kindness. I saw how even the smallest actions, a kind word, a simple smile, had created ripples that influenced the lives of others in ways I could never have anticipated. I also saw moments where my choices had created knots or breaks in the web. Times when fear, anger, or selfishness had disrupted the flow of light. As I observed this tapestry, I began to understand that every thread mattered. No action was insignificant, no life unimportant. Each thread contributed to the greater whole, shaping the world in ways that were both visible and invisible. The guide conveyed to me that this was one of the great truths of existence. We are all connected, and our actions have far-reaching consequences that extend beyond what we can see. The second revelation came in the form of another vision. One that focused on humanity's relationship with technology and progress. I was shown how advancements, while often born from good intentions, could become tools for control and division if misused. The guide showed me scenes of people embracing new technologies that promised convenience and security, but at the cost of their autonomy and connection to one another. These technologies weren't inherently evil, but their misuse created barriers between individuals, replacing genuine relationships with superficial interactions. I saw how this progression could lead to a society where freedom and authenticity were sacrificed in the name of efficiency and order. The guide emphasized that this wasn't an inevitable outcome, it was a choice. One that humanity faced with every decision it made. The vision wasn't meant to instill fear but to highlight the importance of discernment, of understanding the true cost of progress and the value of human connection. The final revelation was the most profound. I was shown the nature of love, not as an emotion but as a force that underpinned all of existence. Love was the very fabric of the tapestry, the light that connected every thread. It wasn't limited to romantic or familial relationships, it was present in every act of kindness, every moment of understanding, and every effort to bring light into the world. Love was both the source and the purpose of life, a force that transcended time and space. As I absorbed these truths, I felt a deep sense of responsibility. I understood that I had been given this experience not for my own benefit but to share what I had learned with others. My guide conveyed that this wasn't a burden but a gift, an opportunity to contribute to the flow of light and love in the world. I was reminded that my time in this realm was temporary, and that I would soon return to the physical world, but I would do so with a new perspective, one that would shape every aspect of my life moving forward. As the experience began to fade, I felt a gentle pull back toward my body. The light grew dimmer, the music quieter, and the colors less vivid. Yet the sense of peace and clarity remained, a reminder of the truths I had been shown. When I finally opened my eyes, I was surrounded by familiar faces and sounds, but I knew that I had been forever changed. The world seemed both smaller and more expansive, a place where every action carried meaning and every life was inter. As I returned to my body, the sensations of the physical world began to flood back, the weight of my limbs, the rhythmic beeping of hospital machines, and the muffled voices of medical staff. Yet even as these familiar sensations anchored me to reality, the experience I had just undergone lingered vividly in my mind. The tapestry of light and connection I had seen wasn't a dream or a hallucination. It was a glimpse into something far greater. Something that gave meaning to every moment and action of my life. I couldn't stop thinking about the intricate web of light I had been shown. Every thread seemed alive, pulsing with a unique energy that reflected the choices and intentions of the individual it represented. I understood now that these threads weren't separate from us. They were extensions of who we are, woven into the fabric of existence with every thought, word, and deed. Each connection carried a profound significance, shaping not only our own lives but also the lives of those around us in ways we might never fully comprehend. As I lay in the hospital bed, my mind kept returning to the moments where my thread had intersected with others. I recalled specific instances from the vision, times when a small act of kindness had created ripples of light that extended far beyond the immediate moment. In one scene, I saw a memory of myself helping a stranger carry groceries to their car. At the time, it had seemed insignificant, a fleeting gesture with no lasting impact. But in the vision, I saw how that act had brightened the stranger's thread, inspiring them to extend kindness to others in their own life. These ripples of light spread outward, connecting people I had never met, forming a chain of positive actions that continued to grow. But the vision also revealed moments where my thread had dimmed, knotted, or broken. These were times when fear, anger, or indifference had led me to make choices that disrupted the flow of light. I saw an argument with a close friend, a moment when pride and stubbornness had prevented reconciliation. That choice had created a knot in my thread, weakening not only our connection but also the threads connected to us both. Yet even in these moments of disruption, there was hope. The guide had shown me that knots could be untangled, broken threads could be mended, and the flow of light could always be restored through intentional actions. Forgiveness, and love. This understanding brought with it a sense of responsibility. If every action contributed to the tapestry, then every decision I made carried weight and significance. It wasn't about striving for perfection but about being mindful of how my choices affected the greater whole. I realized that even the smallest gestures, a kind word, a smile, or a moment of patience, could add light to the tapestry, creating connections that strengthened the entire web of existence. As I reflected on these insights, I began to see the world around me in a new light. The people who visited me in the hospital, family, friends, and even the nurses who cared for me, weren't just individuals moving through their own separate lives. They were threads in the same tapestry, their actions and intentions weaving together with mine in ways that created beauty and meaning. I felt a deep sense of gratitude for these connections, recognizing that each one was an opportunity to contribute to the flow of light. One memory from the vision stood out more vividly than the rest. I had been shown a moment from years ago when I had chosen to forgive someone who had deeply hurt me. At the time, the decision had been difficult, filled with pain and hesitation. Yet in the vision, I saw how that act of forgiveness had transformed my thread, creating a burst of light that rippled outward to mend connections far beyond the immediate relationship. It had softened the heart of the person I forgave, inspiring them to seek reconciliation with others in their life. This cascade of healing had continued, influencing people I would never meet in situations I could never have imagined. The guide had emphasized that forgiveness was one of the most powerful ways to restore the flow of light in the tapestry. It wasn't just about letting go of anger or resentment, it was an act of creation. A way of repairing what had been broken and opening pathways for love and understanding to flourish. In the vision, I had been shown how even small acts of forgiveness could create profound transformations, mending threads and restoring harmony to the web of connections. I was also shown the importance of gratitude. In the tapestry, gratitude appeared as golden threads that strengthened the connections between people, making them more resilient to the static of fear and doubt. I saw how moments of thankfulness, even in the midst of challenges, added light to the tapestry, creating a foundation of strength and hope. In one scene, I saw a woman who had lost everything in a natural disaster, yet chose to focus on the kindness of those who helped her rebuild. Her gratitude created a network of golden threads that not only supported her but also inspired others to find hope in their own struggles. The guide had conveyed that gratitude wasn't about ignoring pain or pretending that everything was perfect. Instead, it was about recognizing the light that existed even in the darkest moments, choosing to focus on the connections and blessings that gave life meaning. This perspective didn't erase hardship, but it transformed how it was experienced, allowing the flow of light to continue uninterrupted. As I thought about these lessons, I began to see my own life as a series of opportunities to contribute to the tapestry. Every interaction, every choice, was a chance to add light, mend threads, and strengthen connections. It wasn't about grand gestures or monumental achievements but about the small, everyday moments that often went unnoticed. These moments, I realized, were the true building blocks of the tapestry. The threads that wove together to create something far greater than the sum of their parts. I also saw how my own pain and struggles had shaped my thread. The guide had shown me that these moments of difficulty weren't failures or setbacks but opportunities for growth and transformation. They were the places where my thread had been tested, stretched, and ultimately strengthened. In the vision, I saw how even the darkest moments of my life had contributed to the light of the tapestry, creating depth and complexity that added to its beauty. The experience left me with a profound sense of purpose. I understood that my life wasn't just about me, it was part of something much larger. A web of connections that extended far beyond what I could see or comprehend. My actions, choices, and intentions mattered, not just for my own thread but for the entire tapestry. This realization was both humbling and empowering. A reminder that even the smallest gestures could create ripples of light that touched countless lives. As I lay in the hospital, reflecting on all that I had seen and learned, I felt a renewed sense of hope. The world wasn't a random collection of events and individuals but a carefully woven tapestry of light and connection. Every thread had a purpose, every action carried weight, and every life was part of a greater whole. This understanding gave me a new perspective on my own journey, a deeper appreciation for the connections that shaped my life, and a commitment to adding as much light as I could to the tapestry. As I continued to process the profound revelations I had experienced, I began to see the layers of choice and influence that permeated the tapestry. It wasn't just the grand decisions or major life events that shaped the web of connections, it was also the countless small, everyday choices that seemed insignificant in the moment. Each of these choices carried its own weight, creating threads that either strengthened the tapestry or added tension to its delicate balance. In the vision, I had been shown how these choices interacted with one another, creating patterns that were often far more intricate and interconnected than I had ever imagined. A single act of kindness could create ripples that reached across time and space, influencing events and relationships in ways that were impossible to predict. Conversely, a moment of anger or selfishness could create knots or breaks in the threads, introducing discord that affected not just the immediate situation but also the connections that extended outward from it. One particular memory stood out vividly in my mind. I had been shown a moment from years ago when I had chosen not to help a colleague who was clearly struggling. At the time, I had justified my inaction with excuses, being too busy, too tired, or simply not wanting to get involved. In the vision, I saw how this choice had created a gap in the tapestry, a missed opportunity to add light to the web of connections. The colleague, feeling unsupported, had withdrawn further, and the tension in their thread had affected their interactions with others in subtle but meaningful ways. Yet even as I reflected on this missed opportunity, I was reminded of the hope and possibility that the tapestry represented. The guide had shown me that gaps could be bridged, knots could be untangled, and the flow of light could always be restored through intentional action. The vision wasn't about dwelling on past mistakes but about understanding the power of choice and the opportunity to create change moving forward. The layers of influence in the tapestry extended far beyond individual actions. I saw how collective choices, made by families, communities, and even societies, created patterns of light and darkness that shaped the world in profound ways. In one scene, I was shown a small community that had come together to support a family in need. Their collective efforts created a network of golden threads that radiated outward, touching not only the lives of those directly involved but also inspiring others to act with kindness and generosity. This ripple effect continued to grow, influencing people and events far beyond the initial act of support. Conversely, I was shown a community where fear and mistrust had taken root, creating a web of tension that stifled the flow of light. In this place, the threads were frayed and knotted, their connections weakened by suspicion and division. Yet even here, there were sparks of hope, individuals who chose to act with courage and compassion, creating small but significant pathways for light to re-enter the tapestry. The guide emphasized that even in the darkest places, the potential for healing and restoration was always present. As I reflected on these collective dynamics, I began to see how the choices of groups and communities could amplify the impact of individual actions. When people came together with shared intentions of love, kindness, and support, their threads wove together to create patterns of light that were stronger and more resilient than any single thread could achieve on its own. This collective light didn't just strengthen the immediate connections within the group, it also extended outward, influencing the broader tapestry in ways that were both subtle and profound. One particularly striking scene from the vision showed a family navigating a period of intense conflict and hardship. At first, their threads were knotted and tense, reflecting the pain and discord that had taken hold. But as they began to communicate with one another openly and honestly, their threads started to untangle. Acts of forgiveness, patience, and understanding created bursts of light that mended the breaks and strengthened their connections. Over time, their efforts not only healed their own relationships but also created a foundation of love and resilience that extended to future generations. The guide conveyed that these layers of choice and influence weren't limited to our immediate surroundings. Every thought, word, and action sent ripples through the tapestry, connecting us to people and events we might never encounter directly. This understanding was both humbling and inspiring, a reminder of the profound interconnectedness of all life and the responsibility that came with it. Another revelation from the vision was the role of intention in shaping the threads of the tapestry. It wasn't just what we did that mattered, but why we did it. Actions driven by love, compassion, and authenticity created threads that were strong and luminous, adding to the beauty and harmony of the web. Conversely, actions motivated by fear, anger, or self-interest often created tension, weakening the connections and introducing static into the flow of light. In one scene, I was shown a man who had dedicated his life to helping others. Not out of a desire for recognition or reward, but simply because he believed it was the right thing to do. His thread was a vibrant, steady line of light, its influence extending far beyond his immediate actions. The people he had helped were inspired to pay that kindness forward, creating a chain of light that continued to grow and evolve. In contrast, I saw a woman who had achieved great success in her career but had done so through manipulation and deceit. Her thread was tangled and dim, its connections strained by the tension her choices had created. Yet even in her case, there was hope. The guide showed me that her thread wasn't beyond repair. She had the power to make different choices, to act with integrity and compassion, and to restore the flow of light in her life. As I absorbed these lessons, I began to see my own choices in a new light. I thought about the times when I had acted out of fear or self-interest, creating tension in my own thread and the threads around me. But I also thought about the moments when I had chosen love, kindness, and authenticity, adding light to the tapestry in ways that might have seemed small at the time but had far-reaching effects. The guide emphasized that the tapestry wasn't about perfection, it was about growth, connection, and the continual flow of light. Every choice, no matter how small, was an opportunity to contribute to the beauty and harmony of the web. Even mistakes and missteps could become sources of light if they were met with humility, forgiveness, and a willingness to learn. As the vision of the tapestry began to fade, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the insights I had been given. I understood now that my life wasn't just a series of isolated moments but a part of something far greater, a living, evolving masterpiece shaped by the choices and connections of every being within it. This understanding gave me a renewed sense of purpose, a commitment to act with intention and to add as much light as I could to the tapestry, one choice at a time. The vision of the tapestry had shown me that life was not random, but a carefully woven masterpiece shaped by every thought, action, and intention. As I lay reflecting on this, I began to grasp the deeper layers of meaning behind the threads, particularly how intention and energy flowed through them. It wasn't simply about what we did. It was about the energy we infused into our actions and the resonance those actions carried through the web of connections. In the tapestry, intention appeared as a kind of current that energized the threads. When our actions were motivated by love, compassion, and authenticity, the energy flowed freely, creating bright and harmonious patterns. Conversely, actions driven by fear, anger, or selfishness created static and tension, disrupting the flow and dimming the light. The guide conveyed that intention was the invisible force behind every thread, determining the strength and quality of the connections we formed. I was shown an example of a teacher whose deep intention to nurture and inspire her students created an enduring ripple effect. Her thread was vibrant, its energy touching not only her students but also their families and communities. Many of her students carried the light she had given them into their own lives, becoming sources of encouragement and kindness to others. Over time, the ripple effect of her intentions created a vast network of light, influencing countless lives she would never meet. This stood in stark contrast to another example, where a man's intentions were driven by personal gain and manipulation. Though his actions appeared successful on the surface, his thread was tangled and dim, its energy constrained by the static of self-interest. The guide showed me how his choices, though impactful in the short term, failed to create meaningful or lasting connections. His influence was limited, confined to the immediate gains he sought, rather than contributing to the broader flow of light. As I reflected on these examples, I began to see the profound difference that intention made in the quality of our lives and relationships. It wasn't just about achieving goals or fulfilling obligations, it was about the energy we brought to every interaction. every decision, and every moment. This understanding filled me with both hope and humility, as I realized that I had the power to transform my own thread by aligning my intentions with the flow of light. The guide then showed me how intention wasn't static, it could evolve and grow as we learned and changed. In one particularly moving example, I saw a woman who had spent much of her life focused on material success. Her thread was tense and disconnected, reflecting the isolation she felt despite her achievements. Yet when she experienced a moment of profound self-awareness, her intentions began to shift. She started to focus on relationships, community, and acts of service, and her thread transformed. The static faded, and the light began to flow freely once more, creating new connections that brought joy and meaning to her life. This process of transformation wasn't easy or immediate, but it was always possible. The guide conveyed that the tapestry was designed to accommodate growth and change, allowing us to repair and strengthen our threads at any point in our journey. Every choice, no matter how small, was an opportunity to align more fully with the flow of light and contribute to the beauty of the web. As I continued to observe the tapestry, I noticed that some areas seemed to pulse with a unique energy, places where the flow of intention was particularly strong and vibrant. These were moments where individuals or groups had come together with shared intentions, creating powerful patterns of light that radiated outward. In one example, I saw a community rallying to support a family affected by tragedy. Their collective energy, fueled by compassion and love, created a luminous network of threads that not only helped the family recover but also strengthened the bonds within the community itself. The guide emphasized that collective intention was one of the most powerful forces in the tapestry. When people came together with a shared purpose, their individual threads wove together to create patterns of light that were greater than the sum of their parts. These collective efforts didn't just address immediate needs, they also created a foundation of strength and resilience that could sustain the community through future challenges. I was then shown how the flow of intention could influence not only people but also the environment around them. In one scene, I saw a group of individuals working together to restore a neglected park. Their shared efforts transformed the space, turning it into a place of beauty and connection. As the park flourished, it became a source of inspiration and joy for others, creating new threads of light that extended far beyond the original group. The guide conveyed that our intentions could shape the world around us, creating spaces that reflected the flow of light and nurtured the connections within the tapestry. Yet even as I marveled at the beauty of these collective patterns, I was reminded of the challenges that could disrupt the flow of intention. The guide showed me areas of the tapestry where fear, doubt, and division had created knots and breaks in the threads. In one example, a group of co-workers had allowed mistrust and competition to overshadow their shared goals. Their threads were tangled, the light dimmed by the static of unresolved tension. Yet even here, there was hope. The guide emphasized that these knots could be untangled through acts of understanding, communication, and forgiveness, restoring the flow of light and strengthening the connections. The vision also revealed the importance of balance in the flow of intention. While it was natural to focus on personal goals and needs, the guide conveyed that true alignment with the tapestry required a broader perspective, one that recognized the interconnectedness of all threads. In one example, I saw a man who had dedicated his life to helping others but had neglected his own well-being in the process. His thread, though bright, was frayed and weakened by the imbalance. The guide conveyed that nurturing our own light was just as important as contributing to the light of others, as it allowed us to sustain our energy and continue adding to the tapestry. As I reflected on these lessons, I began to see my own intentions in a new light. I thought about the times when I had acted with love and authenticity, creating threads that were strong and luminous. But I also thought about the moments when fear or self-doubt had held me back, introducing static into the flow of my thread. The guide reminded me that these moments weren't failures but opportunities for growth. Each choice I made moving forward was a chance to align more fully with the flow of light and contribute to the beauty of the tapestry. The vision of the tapestry began to shift, revealing new patterns and possibilities. I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the insights I had been given and a renewed commitment to act with intention and love in every aspect of my life. The flow of light was always present, always waiting to be activated through our choices and actions. And as I prepared to continue my journey, I understood that this flow wasn't just a force within the tapestry, it was the very essence of life itself. The tapestry continued to unfold before me, revealing another profound element of its design, the transformative power of forgiveness. As I observed the threads, I noticed that some were tangled and knotted, their light diminished by tension and static. These knots often appeared in areas where anger, resentment, or unresolved pain had taken hold. Yet, I also saw how acts of forgiveness could untangle these knots, restoring the flow of light and strengthening the connections between threads. The guide conveyed that forgiveness wasn't simply a moral obligation or an act of kindness. It was a fundamental force that allowed the tapestry to heal and evolve. Forgiveness, I was shown, had the power to dissolve barriers that blocked the flow of light, creating space for connection, understanding, and growth. It wasn't about erasing the pain or pretending that harm hadn't occurred. It was about choosing to release the hold that anger and resentment had over the thread. In one vivid example, I saw two friends whose relationship had been fractured by a misunderstanding. Their threads, once intertwined in a bright and harmonious pattern, were now knotted and frayed. The tension between them didn't just affect their own threads, it rippled outward, influencing their connections with others. Yet when one of them chose to reach out with an apology, even without knowing how it would be received, the knot began to loosen. The act of forgiveness from the other friend sent a burst of light through their threads, restoring their connection and creating new ripples of harmony that extended far beyond their relationship. The guide emphasized that forgiveness was not about condoning harmful actions or forgetting the pain they caused. Instead, it was about reclaiming the flow of light within the tapestry, allowing love and understanding to replace the static of resentment. In the vision, forgiveness appeared as a golden current that moved through the threads, dissolving knots and mending breaks. This current didn't just heal individual relationships, it also strengthened the surrounding threads, creating a ripple effect of restoration and balance. I was shown another example, this time involving a family that had been divided by a long-standing feud. Their threads were tangled in a complex web of anger and blame, each member holding tightly to their own pain. The guide revealed how one person's decision to forgive, to let go of the need for retribution and focus on healing, became a catalyst for transformation. Their thread, once tense and dim, began to glow with a steady light, gradually influencing the threads around them. Over time, this single act of forgiveness inspired others in the family to follow suit, creating a wave of light that restored their connections and brought peace to their shared tapestry. The guide conveyed that forgiveness wasn't always immediate or easy. In some cases, it required time, introspection, and the willingness to confront deeply buried pain. But even the smallest steps toward forgiveness could create powerful shifts in the tapestry. In one example, I saw a woman who had been hurt by a close friend. Though she wasn't ready to reconcile fully, her decision to release some of her anger and pray for her friend's well-being created a faint thread of light between them. This thread grew stronger with each small act of compassion, eventually paving the way for a full restoration of their relationship. Forgiveness, I learned, wasn't limited to interpersonal conflicts. It could also be directed inward, toward oneself. In the tapestry, I saw threads that were dimmed by self-criticism and guilt, their light constrained by the weight of unresolved shame. The guide revealed how self-forgiveness was just as important as forgiving others, as it allowed the flow of light to return to these threads, restoring their strength and vitality. In one particularly poignant example, I saw a man who had struggled for years with regret over a decision he made in his youth. His thread was heavy with tension, its light barely visible beneath the static of guilt. Yet when he chose to forgive himself, to acknowledge his mistakes and allow himself to move forward, the static began to dissolve. His thread brightened, its light extending outward to mend connections that had been weakened by his self-imposed isolation. This act of self-forgiveness didn't just heal him, it also influenced those around him, creating a ripple effect of compassion and understanding. The guide also showed me the transformative power of forgiving those who had passed away. In the tapestry, I saw threads that were knotted with unresolved pain from relationships that had ended in loss. In one example, a woman carried resentment toward her father, who had passed away years earlier. Her inability to forgive had created a knot in her thread, one that continued to influence her relationships with others. Yet when she chose to release her anger and forgive her father in her heart, the knot began to loosen. This act of forgiveness didn't change the past, but it transformed her present, allowing her to approach her connections with renewed openness and love. As I observed these examples, I began to see how forgiveness was woven into the very fabric of the tapestry. It wasn't just a tool for resolving conflicts, it was a way of nurturing the flow of light and maintaining the harmony of the web. Forgiveness allowed the threads to remain flexible and resilient, capable of adapting to the challenges and complexities of life. The guide conveyed one final insight about forgiveness. It was both a gift and a choice. It couldn't be forced or demanded. It had to come from a place of genuine intention and understanding. Yet, once offered, forgiveness had the power to transform not only the giver and the receiver but also the entire tapestry. It was a force that transcended time and space, its effects rippling outward in ways that were often unseen but deeply felt. As the vision of forgiveness began to fade, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the lessons I had been shown. I understood now that forgiveness wasn't just an act of letting go, it was an act of creation. A way of restoring the flow of light and contributing to the beauty of the tapestry. It was a reminder that no matter how tangled or knotted our threads might become, there was always a path to healing and renewal. As the tapestry continued to unfold, I was drawn to an area where the threads pulsed with a warm, golden light. These threads carried a distinct energy, one that radiated strength, resilience, and harmony. The guide conveyed that this light represented gratitude, a force so potent and transformative that it could strengthen connections, mend breaks, and amplify the flow of light throughout the entire tapestry. Gratitude, I was shown, wasn't just an emotion or reaction to favorable circumstances. It was a choice. A deliberate act of recognizing and honoring the light that existed even in the midst of darkness. The threads imbued with gratitude shone brighter than any others, their golden hue reinforcing the connections they touched and creating ripples that extended far beyond the individual. In one vivid example, I was shown a young mother who, despite facing financial struggles and personal hardships, chose to focus on the blessings in her life. Each evening, she took a moment to express gratitude for her children, her health, and the small victories of the day. Her thread glowed with golden light, its energy radiating outward to brighten the threads of her family and community. Over time, her gratitude inspired others to adopt the same perspective, creating a network of golden threads that strengthened the entire web. The guide revealed that gratitude wasn't limited to grand gestures or profound moments. It could be found in the smallest acts of acknowledgement, a thank you whispered to a stranger, a silent appreciation for a sunset, or a fleeting thought of thanks for a meal. Each expression of gratitude, no matter how small, added light to the tapestry, creating ripples that influenced far more than the immediate moment. One particularly moving scene from the vision showed a man who had lost everything in a natural disaster. His home was gone, his possessions destroyed, and yet he stood in the ruins, expressing gratitude for his family's safety and the kindness of those who had come to help. His thread, though strained by the weight of his circumstances, shone with a steady, golden light. This gratitude didn't erase his struggles, but it gave him the strength to move forward, creating ripples of light that inspired hope and resilience in those around him. The guide emphasized that gratitude wasn't about ignoring pain or denying hardship. Instead, it was about choosing to focus on the light that remained, even in the darkest moments. This perspective didn't diminish the reality of suffering, but it transformed how it was experienced, allowing the flow of light to continue and creating opportunities for healing and growth. As I observed the power of gratitude, I was reminded of moments in my own life when I had experienced its transformative effects. One memory stood out, a time when I had faced a significant personal loss. In the depths of my grief, I had found solace in the small acts of kindness from friends and strangers. These moments, though seemingly insignificant at the time, had anchored me, reminding me of the light that still existed in the world. Looking back, I realized that my choice to focus on those moments of gratitude had helped me navigate the darkness, strengthening my thread and creating ripples that extended to others. The vision also revealed how gratitude influenced relationships. In one example, I saw a couple navigating a difficult period in their marriage. Their threads were tense and frayed, reflecting the strain of miscommunication and unmet expectations. Yet when they chose to focus on the qualities they appreciated in each other, their threads began to soften and glow. This shift in perspective didn't solve all their problems, but it created a foundation of mutual respect and understanding that allowed them to rebuild their connection. Gratitude, I learned, wasn't just about what we received, it was also about what we gave. In the tapestry, acts of gratitude appeared as golden threads that wove through the web, creating patterns of light that strengthened and uplifted those they touched. In one scene, I saw a woman writing thank you notes to people who had supported her during a challenging time. Her simple expressions of appreciation created ripples of light that extended far beyond the recipients, inspiring them to act with kindness and gratitude in their own lives. The guide conveyed that gratitude had the power to transcend time and space. In the tapestry, I saw threads that carried the energy of gratitude from one generation to the next. In one example, a grandmother's habit of giving thanks for every blessing, no matter how small, created a legacy of light that influenced her children, grandchildren, and beyond. Her gratitude became a source of strength and resilience for her family, providing a foundation that endured even after her passing. I was then shown how gratitude could transform entire communities. In one scene, a neighborhood that had been divided by tension and mistrust was brought together by a shared effort to rebuild a local park. As they worked side by side, expressing gratitude for each other's contributions, their threads began to glow with golden light. This collective gratitude not only strengthened their connections but also created a ripple effect of harmony and cooperation that extended to other areas of their lives. The guide emphasized that gratitude wasn't just a response to external circumstances, it was a state of being, a way of interacting with a world that recognized the interconnectedness of all things. Gratitude allowed us to see the beauty in the tapestry, even when our own threads were strained or knotted. It reminded us that every thread mattered, every connection had value, and every moment was an opportunity to contribute to the flow of light. As I reflected on these lessons, I began to see how I could incorporate gratitude into my own life. I thought about the times when I had taken things for granted, focusing on what was missing rather than what I had. The guide reminded me that gratitude wasn't about perfection or always feeling positive. It was about making a conscious choice to acknowledge the light, even in the midst of struggle. The vision of the golden threads began to fade, but the lessons remained etched in my mind. I understood now that gratitude wasn't just an emotion, it was a force that shaped the tapestry, creating ripples of light that strengthened and uplifted the web of connections. It was a reminder that even in the darkest moments, the light was always present, waiting to be seen and celebrated. As the tapestry continued to reveal its intricate patterns, my attention was drawn to areas where threads converged in powerful and purposeful ways. These were places where individuals, families, or communities had come together with shared intentions, creating patterns of light that were greater than the sum of their parts. The guide conveyed that unity was a force of immense strength within the tapestry, capable of overcoming even the deepest darkness and mending the most frayed connections. The first example I was shown involved a small community facing a devastating natural disaster. Their threads, initially strained by fear and loss, began to intertwine as they came together to support one another. Acts of kindness, collaboration, and selflessness created a network of light that not only helped them rebuild their physical surroundings but also strengthened their emotional and spiritual connections. The guide emphasized that these collective efforts amplified the light, creating ripples that extended far beyond the immediate community and inspired others to act with compassion and unity. Unity, I realized, wasn't about erasing differences or achieving perfect harmony. It was about embracing the diversity of threads and recognizing their interconnectedness. In the tapestry, I saw threads of different colors, textures, and patterns coming together to create a beautiful mosaic. Each thread retained its individuality, but its connection to others added depth and complexity to the overall design. The guide conveyed that unity was about finding strength in diversity, about valuing the unique contributions of each thread while working toward a common purpose. In another scene, I saw a family struggling with conflict and division. Their threads were tangled and dim, weighed down by misunderstandings and unresolved pain. Yet when one family member chose to initiate reconciliation, their thread began to glow with light, reaching out to the others. This single act of courage inspired others to follow suit, creating a wave of forgiveness and understanding that untangled the knots and restored the flow of light. The guide emphasized that unity often began with small, intentional actions, one person choosing to reach out, to listen, or to forgive. The power of unity extended beyond families and communities. In the tapestry, I saw movements where people from different backgrounds, cultures, and beliefs came together to address shared challenges. These collective efforts created patterns of light that were particularly vibrant and expansive, their energy touching countless lives. In one example, I saw a global initiative to provide clean water to underserved areas. The threads of the individuals involved, engineers, activists, donors, and local community members, wove together to create a network of light that transformed entire regions. The guide conveyed that unity on this scale had the power to reshape the tapestry, creating new possibilities for connection and growth. The vision also revealed the challenges that could arise when unity was strained or disrupted. In one scene, I saw a workplace where competition and mistrust had created tension among the threads. The light was dim, and the connections were weak, leaving the group unable to achieve their shared goals. Yet even in this environment, there was hope. When one individual chose to act with transparency and collaboration, their thread began to shine, influencing others to do the same. Over time, the flow of light was restored, allowing the group to work together more effectively. The guide emphasized that unity wasn't about avoiding conflict or pretending that differences didn't exist. Instead, it was about finding common ground and working through challenges with mutual respect and understanding. In the tapestry, I saw how disagreements, when approached with humility and openness, could actually strengthen connections. These moments of tension, when resolved constructively, added depth and resilience to the threads, making the overall pattern even more dynamic and beautiful. As I observed these examples, I began to see the importance of unity in my own life. I thought about the times when I had allowed pride or fear to create distance between myself and others. The guide reminded me that unity didn't require perfection or agreement on everything. It required a willingness to connect, to listen, and to value the contributions of others. Each act of unity, no matter how small, added light to the tapestry and strengthened the web of connections. The vision also revealed the role of unity in times of crisis. In one particularly moving example, I saw a group of strangers coming together during a moment of collective fear. Their threads, initially strained by uncertainty, began to glow as they supported and encouraged one another. Acts of kindness, a shared meal, a comforting word, a helping hand, created ripples of light that not only eased their immediate fears but also built lasting connections. The guide conveyed that unity in the face of adversity was one of the most powerful forces in the tapestry, capable of transforming even the darkest moments into opportunities for growth and connection. Unity, I learned, wasn't limited to human interactions. In the tapestry, I saw how the natural world and humanity were deeply interconnected, their threads weaving together in patterns of mutual support and dependence. In one scene, I saw a community working to restore a damaged ecosystem. Their efforts created a network of light that not only revitalized the environment but also strengthened their own connections as they worked together toward a common goal. The guide emphasized that unity extended to all living things, reminding me of the importance of respecting and nurturing these connections. As the vision of unity began to fade, I felt a deep sense of inspiration and purpose. I understood now that unity wasn't just an ideal, it was a practice, a way of living that recognized the interconnectedness of all threads in the tapestry. It was about finding strength in diversity, working through challenges with compassion, and valuing the unique contributions of each thread. Unity was a force that amplified the light, creating patterns of beauty and resilience that touched every part of the web. As I delved deeper into the vision of the tapestry, I was drawn to areas where the threads were stretched thin, frayed, or burdened by the weight of tension and adversity. These sections revealed the moments when life's challenges pressed hardest on individuals and communities, testing their strength and resilience. Yet even in these strained places, there was light, sometimes faint and flickering, but always present, always waiting to be nurtured and rekindled. The guide conveyed that resilience wasn't about avoiding hardship or emerging unscathed. It was about the ability to endure, adapt, and continue contributing to the tapestry, even when circumstances seemed overwhelming. Resilience, I was shown, wasn't a fixed trait but a dynamic process, a combination of choices, connections, and inner strength that allowed threads to recover and shine once more. In one poignant example, I saw a single mother struggling to provide for her children. Her thread was taut, its light dimmed by the strain of her responsibilities. Yet despite the challenges, she continued to nurture her children's threads with acts of love and sacrifice. Over time, her resilience created a ripple effect that strengthened her family's connections, inspiring her children to support one another and work together. The guide emphasized that resilience often began with small, deliberate acts, choosing hope over despair, persistence over surrender, and connection over isolation. The vision then shifted to a community recovering from a devastating event. Their threads were tangled and weakened, their light overshadowed by grief and uncertainty. Yet, as they came together to rebuild, their resilience began to shine through. Acts of mutual support, sharing resources, comforting one another, and collaborating on solutions, created a network of light that gradually restored their strength. The guide revealed that resilience wasn't just an individual effort, it thrived in connection, in the shared determination to move forward together. One of the most striking aspects of resilience was its transformative power. In the tapestry, I saw how moments of adversity, though painful, often led to growth and renewal. In one example, a man who had lost his job and faced financial hardship used the experience as an opportunity to reevaluate his priorities and discover a new sense of purpose. His thread, though strained at first, began to glow with a brighter and steadier light as he rebuilt his life with intention and gratitude. The guide conveyed that resilience didn't erase the pain of hardship, but it allowed individuals to emerge stronger, their threads enriched by the depth and complexity of their experiences. Resilience, I learned, was closely tied to the presence of support systems. In the tapestry, I saw how threads that were connected to others were more likely to recover and thrive, even in the face of significant challenges. In one example, I saw a young woman coping with the loss of a loved one. Her thread, heavy with grief, was lifted and supported by the threads of friends, family, and even strangers who offered comfort and understanding. These connections didn't take away her pain, but they gave her the strength to continue, to heal, and to find light once more. The guide emphasized that resilience wasn't just about receiving support, it was also about offering it. In the tapestry, I saw how acts of kindness, encouragement, and solidarity created threads of light that reinforced the entire web. In one scene, a man who had faced his own struggles reached out to mentor a younger colleague experiencing similar challenges. His willingness to share his insights and experiences created a connection that strengthened both of their threads, illustrating the reciprocal nature of resilience. Another revelation from the vision was the role of perspective in fostering resilience. I saw how individuals who focused on the light, on moments of gratitude, connection, and possibility, were better able to navigate adversity. In one example, a couple facing a serious illness chose to focus on the love and support they received from their community. Their gratitude didn't diminish the difficulty of their situation, but it infused their thread with a steady light that sustained them through their journey. The guide also showed me how resilience could be cultivated through preparation and intention. In the tapestry, I saw individuals who had built strong foundations of faith, self-awareness, and practical skills. These foundations acted as anchors, allowing their threads to remain steady even when the surrounding web was strained. In one example, A family that had prioritized building close relationships and mutual trust was able to weather a financial crisis with greater ease and unity. The guide conveyed that resilience wasn't about anticipating every challenge but about cultivating the inner and outer resources needed to face them. As I observed these examples, I began to see resilience as a dynamic interplay between strength and vulnerability. It wasn't about pretending that everything was fine or denying the reality of pain. It was about acknowledging the challenges while choosing to move forward anyway. Resilience, I learned, was a testament to the enduring power of the light within each thread. A reminder that even in the darkest moments, there was always the possibility of renewal. The vision also revealed how resilience contributed to the broader tapestry. In one scene, I saw a group of individuals working together to overcome a shared challenge. Their threads, though strained at first, became stronger as they supported one another, creating a network of light that inspired others to do the same. This collective resilience didn't just benefit the individuals involved, it strengthened the entire web, creating patterns of connection and hope that extended far beyond the immediate situation. As I reflected on these lessons, I began to think about my own moments of adversity and the resilience I had found within myself and others. I thought about the times when I had felt overwhelmed, when the weight of life's challenges seemed too much to bear. Yet even in those moments, there had been light, acts of kindness, moments of connection, and flashes of hope that had sustained me. The guide reminded me that these moments weren't accidental, they were the threads of resilience, woven into the tapestry by the choices and actions of myself and those around me. Resilience, I understood now, wasn't about being unbreakable, it was about being able to bend without breaking, to adapt and grow in response to life's challenges. It was about finding strength and connection, in the light of others, and in the enduring beauty of the tapestry itself. And as I prepared to continue my journey, I carried with me the knowledge that resilience was always within reach. A force that could transform even the most strained threads into sources of light and strength. As the vision of the tapestry continued to unfold, the guide directed my attention to a profound and complex dynamic within its intricate patterns, the interplay between free will and the greater design. This wasn't a contradiction but a relationship, a delicate balance where individual choices shaped the tapestry while simultaneously contributing to a design that was far greater than any single thread. The first revelation I was shown involved the concept of choice. Every thread in the tapestry represented the sum of countless decisions, large and small. These choices, made with free will, created ripples that extended far beyond the individual. In one example, I saw a young woman debating whether to pursue a career path that aligned with her passion or one that promised financial stability. Her decision, though deeply personal, influenced not only her own thread but also those of her family, colleagues, and the communities she would eventually serve. The guide emphasized that each choice carried weight, shaping not only the immediate present but also the broader flow of light within the tapestry. I was then shown how free will interacted with the greater design. The tapestry wasn't rigid or predetermined, it was dynamic and evolving, shaped by the choices of every thread within it. Yet there was a sense of purpose to its patterns, a guiding flow that seemed to align with the energy of light and love. The guide conveyed that this wasn't a form of control or predestination but a reflection of the interconnectedness of all things. Each choice contributed to the tapestry's growth, weaving new patterns that enriched its beauty and complexity. In one example, I saw a man grappling with a moral dilemma. His thread flickered with tension as he weighed his options, knowing that his choice would have consequences beyond himself. When he ultimately chose to act with integrity and compassion, his thread began to shine with a steady light. This decision not only strengthened his own thread but also mended connections that had been strained by previous choices. The guide revealed that while the greater design allowed for mistakes and missteps, it also provided countless opportunities for redemption and realignment. Another revelation from the vision involved the role of obstacles and challenges in the tapestry. These weren't merely random occurrences or punishments, they were opportunities for growth and transformation. In one scene, I saw a woman facing a series of setbacks in her career. At first, her thread appeared strained, its light dimmed by frustration and self-doubt. Yet as she chose to persevere and adapt, her thread grew stronger, its light brighter and more resilient. The guide conveyed that challenges were an integral part of the tapestry, offering moments to exercise free will in ways that aligned with the flow of light. The guide also showed me how free will could create both harmony and discord within the tapestry. In one example, I saw a community where individuals prioritized their own desires over the collective good. Their threads were tense and tangled, their connections weakened by the static of conflict and mistrust. Yet even in this discord, there was hope. One person's decision to act selflessly created a ripple of light that began to untangle the threads, inspiring others to follow suit. The guide emphasized that free will was a powerful force, capable of creating both chaos and beauty, depending on how it was exercised. The vision revealed that the greater design wasn't about dictating outcomes but about providing a framework within which free will could operate. In the tapestry, I saw pathways of light, opportunities and possibilities that opened up in response to individual choices. These pathways weren't fixed, they shifted and evolved as threads interacted, creating a dynamic flow that reflected the collective energy of the tapestry. In one example, a man's decision to mentor a troubled teenager created a new pathway of light that influenced not only the teenager's life but also the lives of everyone they would go on to impact. Another striking revelation was the role of intention in shaping the interplay between free will and the greater design. In the tapestry, I saw how choices made with love and authenticity created threads that aligned seamlessly with the flow of light, enhancing the beauty and harmony of the web. Conversely, choices driven by fear or self-interest often created tension, introducing static that disrupted the flow. Yet even these moments of discord could be transformed through subsequent choices, allowing the light to return and the connections to heal. The guide conveyed that free will was both a gift and a responsibility. It allowed each thread to contribute uniquely to the tapestry, creating patterns that were as diverse as they were interconnected. Yet this freedom also carried the weight of accountability. Every choice, no matter how small, had the potential to influence the tapestry in profound ways. This wasn't a burden but an invitation to participate consciously and intentionally in the ongoing creation of the web. As I reflected on these lessons, I began to see my own choices in a new light. I thought about the times when I had acted impulsively, without considering the broader impact of my decisions. The guide reminded me that while mistakes were inevitable, they weren't irreparable. The tapestry was forgiving, its design flexible enough to accommodate growth, learning, and realignment. Each choice moving forward was an opportunity to contribute to the flow of light, to weave patterns of connection and meaning that enhanced the beauty of the whole. The vision also revealed how free will and the greater design worked together to create moments of synchronicity. In one example, I saw two strangers whose threads crossed in a seemingly chance encounter. Their meeting, influenced by their individual choices, created a connection that would go on to change both of their lives in unexpected ways. The guide conveyed that these moments weren't random but reflections of the tapestry's dynamic nature, a blend of free will and the guiding flow of light that brought threads together at precisely the right time. As the vision of free will and the greater design began to fade, I felt a deep sense of wonder and responsibility. I understood now that my thread wasn't just a passive part of the tapestry, it was an active participant in its creation. Every choice I made had the potential to shape the web, to add light, and to contribute to the unfolding patterns of connection and meaning. This understanding wasn't daunting, it was empowering, a reminder that I had the power to create beauty and harmony within the tapestry, one choice at a time. As the final layers of the tapestry came into view, the guide revealed one last, profound truth: the eternal nature of the connections we form. Every thread, every choice, and every ripple of light carried a significance that transcended the boundaries of time and space. The tapestry wasn't just a reflection of the present, it was a living, evolving masterpiece that encompassed the past, present, and future in ways that were both intricate and infinite. I was shown how the threads of the tapestry extended into eternity, their influence continuing to ripple outward long after the lives they represented had ended. In one example, I saw a man who had dedicated his life to mentoring young people. His thread was vibrant and steady, its light touching countless others. Even after his passing, the impact of his choices continued to resonate through the threads he had influenced, creating ripples of light that reached far beyond his lifetime. The guide conveyed that this was the essence of legacy, not material wealth or accolades, but the connections and contributions that endured within the tapestry. The eternal impact of connection wasn't limited to grand gestures or public acts of service. In the tapestry, I saw countless examples of quiet, unnoticed actions that carried profound significance. In one scene, a woman offered a kind word to a stranger who was struggling with despair. Her thread glowed with a soft light as the stranger's thread, dim and tense, began to brighten. This simple act of kindness set off a chain reaction, inspiring the stranger to extend compassion to others and creating ripples of light that spread throughout the tapestry. The guide emphasized that no act of love or kindness was ever wasted. Every connection, no matter how small, contributed to the greater whole. Another revelation involved the threads of those who had come before us, ancestors, mentors, and loved ones whose choices had shaped the tapestry in ways we often couldn't see. I was shown how these threads continued to influence the present, their light providing strength, guidance, and inspiration to those who followed. In one example, a grandmother's habit of praying for her family created a network of golden threads that supported her descendants for generations. Her thread, though no longer active in the physical sense, remained a source of light and connection within the tapestry. The guide conveyed that the eternal impact of connection wasn't confined to the physical world. In the tapestry, I saw threads that represented relationships between individuals and the natural world, between communities and their shared histories, and even between humanity and the universe itself. These connections were as vital and dynamic as any others, contributing to the flow of light and shaping the patterns of the tapestry in profound ways. One particularly striking vision showed the interplay between the past and the future. I saw a man who had struggled with anger and resentment for much of his life. His thread knotted and dim. Yet, through moments of self-reflection and intentional effort, he chose to let go of his pain and embrace forgiveness. This choice not only transformed his thread but also influenced the threads of his children and grandchildren, creating ripples of light that extended into the future. The guide emphasized that healing in the present had the power to transform the past, not by changing events but by altering their impact and creating new possibilities for growth and connection. The eternal nature of the tapestry also revealed the power of collective intention. In one scene, I saw a group of people from different backgrounds coming together to address a shared challenge. Their threads, initially separate and strained, began to weave together in a harmonious pattern as they worked toward a common goal. The light they generated wasn't confined to their immediate efforts, it extended outward, influencing others to join their cause and creating a ripple effect that reshaped the tapestry on a global scale. The guide conveyed that collective efforts had the power to amplify light in ways that were far greater than any individual thread could achieve alone. As I absorbed these revelations, I began to see my own life within the context of the eternal tapestry. I thought about the connections I had formed, the choices I had made, and the ripples I had created, both intentionally and unintentionally. The guide reminded me that while I couldn't control every outcome, I had the power to choose how I contributed to the flow of light. Every act of love, kindness, and authenticity added to the beauty of the tapestry, creating patterns that would endure long after my thread had faded from the physical world. The final vision was one of unity and completeness. I saw the tapestry as a whole, its patterns stretching infinitely in all directions. Every thread, every connection, and every ripple of light contributed to its beauty and complexity. The guide conveyed that the tapestry wasn't static or finished, it was alive, constantly growing and evolving as new threads were added and new choices were made. This dynamic nature was a testament to the power of free will, resilience, and connection, a reminder that the tapestry's beauty was shaped by the contributions of every being within it. As the vision began to fade, I felt a profound sense of peace and purpose. I understood now that my life was part of something far greater, a tapestry of light and connection that encompassed all of existence. My choices, no matter how small, carried significance, contributing to a design that was as infinite as it was intricate. This understanding wasn't a burden but a gift, a reminder that every moment was an opportunity to add light to the tapestry, to strengthen its connections, and to create patterns of beauty and harmony that would endure forever.